It's White Hot Sunday and John Dadian. They go hand in hand, don't they?
I'm superstitious in everything in my life, in politics and in sports. So it's White Hot Sunday. I'm going to dress appropriately.
You look great.
Yeah, you even have the bolt on the lapel.
Can we get a close-up
I don't know
of
if we can get a close-up of that, but
look at that fancy thing.
Looky
Sorta.
there.
Yeah.
Very nice indeed.
Yeah.
Good stuff, John.
And in honor of Junior, of course.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be an emotional day.
It is.
Definitely. Hey, John, good morning, first of all. Thank you for being here. A lot has happened in the last week. Let's first talk about how this, the attack in Libya is affecting our poll numbers as of this weekend when it comes to the presidential race.
One thing they always say when you're after Labor Day, when they consider the campaign really kicking off, is if somebody's lagging behind in the polls or it's a tight race, which this one is, they're afraid of an October surprise. In 1980, they were afraid that the Iranian hostages would be freed, etc. So now with the recent turn of events in the world, people are wondering, is this going to tilt the campaign? And I think it's very possibly will do so.
Why? Well, I mean, what are we seeing changing, and why are people's thoughts changing?
Because it gives the president, the current incumbent, a chance to be presidential, to show leadership. There is a crisis going on, and again, in several countries, in several of our embassies right now. So the leadership he's going to show in the next 45 days, I think, can swing people one way or the other. And we've seen Romney, some people accuse him of making a couple gaffes. If anybody makes mistakes, that could affect it also.
Do you think this is a reaction to his omission of talking about Afghanistan in his RNC speech and being a perception that he was soft on foreign affairs?
I think it's a byproduct of it. And again, I was surprised at that, as you and I have talked several times, because since he's not the incumbent, I think he should have emphasized that more, because that's the one area that people do question his competency.
Well, how do you think President Obama handled everything politically? His response, maybe the timing of his response. There's been a lot of people from both sides of the aisle that have felt that he handled it right. People, though, criticizing the way he handled it. What do you think politically?
So far, I think he's handled it appropriately. And again, I think he's walked the fine line with doing his job as president. Also, you know, most people admit that the current Secretary of State is a pretty good Secretary of State, no matter what they think of her politics. So I think as a team, they've handled it well. And if you've noticed, they've done it as a team, and they've had the surrogate spokespeople around the world also addressing it. I think that was very smart.
Yeah, that was a powerful moment when the two of them held hands after the president's remarks, when we saw them at the Air Force Base when there was that ceremony.
Keep in mind, this gets personal. As a Secretary of State, these ambassadors work for her.
Yeah, she appointed them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We want to go on to, let's talk about our local race here. We haven't really talked about it as much as, obviously, the presidential election, mainly because what is happening, obviously, in the world. Can you bring us up to date, though, on what we're seeing now with poll numbers between Carl DeMaio and Bob Filner?
Most of the recent polls show Filner slightly ahead, but again, I hate to repeat myself, but again, with 50 days left to go, it's going to jockey, I think, back and forth. It's clearly going to be a close race. Been a couple of issues that have popped up that I think are almost silly about whether or not to make your tax returns public.
Yeah, what's going on with that? Bring our viewers up to date.
Carl DeMaio has revealed his tax returns for made public his tax returns for the last several years. Bob Filner has said first he wouldn't do it, then he said he would with these conditions, and he wants DeMaio to agree to those conditions, which, again, we see this in the presidential also. On one hand, philosophically, I don't think it's, needs to be public, but on the other hand, perception becomes reality in the world I live in, and you should just get it out, because what happens is it turns a one-day story into a 2- or 3-day story, and that's what's happening. The good thing in the mayor's race is, and some people don't think this is a good thing, is there is a lot of debates going on, more than I've seen in recent mayor's races. And so we've got more than 20 going on before the election day. I think that's good, because different groups really get to see these people up close and personal.
Why do you think that is?
Well, for some very obvious reasons. Number one, because it's a close race, and not to use a cliche, but every vote's going to count, and you don't know if going to that one debate, if you get 5 people who are undecided before say, hey, I like what you said, may make the difference.
Is it closer than the 6 or 7 points that Mr. Filner had a lead on Mr. DeMaio, or is it getting tightening up?
As I've said many times on this show, all a poll is a snapshot in time. So even if it is 7 points today, 24 hours from now, and it probably will change, these are two tough competitors. As I said in the primary, what's great about these two candidates, it gives the people a clear choice. They do disagree on quite a few issues.
Yeah, very different policies.
And different styles.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are going to vote on, more than policies, quite honestly. I think it's going to be a style question.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor Sanders' spokesperson, Darren Pudgell, saying we're going to have a recall right after the election, no matter who gets elected.
Yeah.
I think
hope not.
I think he might regret saying that publicly.
Well, who knows? We'll see.
All right. John
Thanks, John.
Dadian, thank you so
Very good to see
much.
you both.
Looking